This is the Agency Balance Podcast, where we talk about agency life, client relationships, and your own personal balance. Agency Balance is sponsored by SmartAcre. SmartAcre helps you automate, enhance, and accelerate your B2B marketing. Visit GetSmartAcre.com to get your free marketing and sales assessment.
Here are your co-hosts of the Agency Balance Podcast, David Snyder.
And I'm Lisa Zwikl.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Agency Balance Podcast.
Oh, you're going to do the intro this time. Awesome. So, hello, everybody. Thank you again to another edition of the Agency Balance. Lisa, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Dave. As if we never see each other.
I know, but it's always good to see you. And thank you to all of our listeners. We're winding down season 2. We have a couple more episodes coming out, but this episode is with just us.
Yeah. We had to do it because we have this awesome new setup if you're watching on YouTube.
Yes, hop over to the YouTube channel. Check out our new little setup here. Still tweaking everything as it's always about progress, not perfection. But I'm happy to have our own little space now.
Me too. It's nice.
It is nice. So hopefully everything sounds good. We haven't this is our first official recording in not doing things over Zoom. We have a little quiet little spot that we can do this in. It's not like a soundproof room or anything like that. So
no, it sounds a lot like my home with the daycare out in the same building.
Yeah.
With kids.
Yeah. So that's our first topic, actually. I think we should talk about that. We've decided that we wanted to have a place where we can kind of come back together, connect. And so we reopened an office.
It's been a hot topic since COVID, what to do. Have an office, don't have an office, be fully remote, be hybrid. So many companies have started to come back together in more of a hybrid setting, or even requiring people to come back to work, which that's a hard no for me.
I agree. I think there's people still use new normal. There is no new normal. We're making everything up as we go here. But yeah, it has been a hot topic. So for us, we decided that we looked at it and we said, hey, listen, being remote for 2+ years, constantly checking in with our team members. I think that's the first. Let's stop right there. That's the first thing you need to do, right? Is constantly be checking in with your team. Right,
and we did that when was that? A year after COVID, we had our office space. We reopened it. We had, hand sanitizer everywhere, buffs that people could pick up walking in the door to cover their faces if they wanted to cover their mouths. And we asked the team then, remember that?
Yeah.
What do you think about coming back into the office? And at that point, everyone loved just being at home, didn't want to use the space, which was totally fine. It was totally fine. But there was a shift this year for sure.
Yeah, I think two things. I'm probably not the normal, right? So being kind of the role that I'm in, for me, I actually did want to have a space. Me personally, I personally wanted to have an area where I could go sometimes, but not all the time. There's definitely days where being at home suits me better. If I look at my calendar and if I'm going to be on calls all day long, maybe I should just go home. But maybe, there's a lot going on the home front. Maybe it's not the most quiet solution. So having both options, I think is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Yeah. Yeah. And this year, that was the feedback that we got from our team of just not necessarily asking. And I just said this when we started talking about this. I said out loud, companies requiring people to go back to work, but everyone is still at work. Everyone is finding their groove of how they can best be efficient and effective, but having a place for collaboration, for brainstorming, for just getting outside of your walls and engaging in real life with other humans. That was feedback that we heard loud and clear this year on the wish list of how we can help our team members be as successful and efficient as possible. There was a request to have more collaboration.
Yeah. So last week, we kicked off the office, did a ribbon cutting ceremony with our local Chamber of Commerce, which was fun. connecting is a key word for us. It's something that is in our vision of connecting both in person with our local communities as well as being digitally focused and online. So having a space where you can use that as a tool really makes sense. So yeah, I was happy that we were able to get the space, get in as quick as we did, get it set up. We sold all of our stuff. So like when we went remote, I was like, let's not store this. It's going to cost us. I'm glad we did. I'm like we just sold all of our like equipment, but like we had to buy all new stuff, which is fun, and then, as any good small agency, we built everything ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Heck yeah, we did.
Not too many leftover pieces. And then, we said, listen, let's bring everybody back together in one place. So brought everybody in, and it was awesome. It was a great week. We had training. And I think for me, like coming back together in person, whether if you're remote or not, is important for a couple reasons. Like for me, number one is like if you have new folks, like that just accelerates them of getting them up to speed. Two, like if you're working with people, we all remember working in an office setting. Like you had water cooler and all that good stuff that you couldn't pick up on people's work style. I was just saying that like one day in here we were all working and it was tight, right? Like mm-hmm. we used like every square inch of the space and it was tight. But you kind of pick up on like, am I a quiet person? Do I like to work around people? Can I stay focused?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see what people's days are truly like without looking at their calendar. You get a sense of, are they moving to back-to-back meetings all day long? Are they collaborating with the team, or are they working in a silo, just heads down at their desk all day? Are there some people that maybe you should reach out to more frequently when we're in a completely remote day where no one's in the office, and just check in? How's it going? Do you need help with anything? Because everyone does have different styles, but you can pick up on so much more when you're just together in person that it's hard to do over Zoom or chat.
For me, there's a P word, productivity, like being productive. Obviously, that's really important, whether if you're remote at a coffee shop, in an office. Find what makes sense for you to be most productive in those different settings, depending on the type of work that you're doing. Mm-hmm. Like if I said to me, if like I'm going to be heads down and maybe I have a call or two, like that's a perfect for me to like come into the office, and it allows me to kind of collaborate. But if I need to be in a different environment working or create, like being creative, right? Being in the creative space, you need to have things around you to spark creativity. And be set up too. So like one of the things that we did was we have like kind of rolling workstations for everybody. We made every workstation consistent. So all the same monitors, all the same keyboards, all the same mice, all the same desks, mm-hmm. so that there's no assigned seats. People can just come in, get plugged in, and be consistent, because like I can't work on a 13-inch monitor anymore. I need a big screen.
Right, and it's nice to have the latest and greatest stuff. That was our vision for the office, have it be a space for innovation, for collaboration. And one thing that you always say, Dave, is this is a tool in our toolbox. It's not something that we're requiring our team to come in for. It's something else that we can use to help us be efficient, help us be the best team possible. So it might be helpful for you to tell our listeners what you mean by that. What does it mean when you have an office as a tool, not necessarily a space, but a tool?
Yeah. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crack open, not a beer, a little water, because that's a tool for me as well. This was probably a couple years ago, where I don't know how it came up, but somebody did say that. Like I didn't invent that. Like I didn't invent like the tool thing. I think it came up where it was like when you're looking at what you do in an office, you're meeting. It's like the first thing. And when I polled everybody, when we polled everybody, it was like, what do you need the office for? Mm-hmm. Well, my setup at home sucks. That's really not the case anymore. Pretty much everybody's set up. But some it's tough. Like I don't really want to be at my kitchen table, or like my significant other is also working at home, and it's like we're like tripping over each other. So there's that. Two, like if I'm in meetings a lot, like I want to be able to collaborate with others, or I'm on the phone with clients a lot or prospects. I need, meeting space. And then there's like the intangible of the culture aspect of it. And being in the office or having there allows me to connect with others and learn about their work styles, like just what you were saying. So for me, I was like, it's a tool. It's not necessary. The type of work that we are in, it's not necessary. You can be very successful being a remote company if you work at it. Mm-hmm. Don't just assume like you're at home and everything's hunky-dory.
Right. Yeah. That's one of the things that's why we're good partners. I pushed back on you on this when we were talking about getting an office space, and I said we have to get the remote thing right first before we're in between. We have to do that so well before we blur the lines, because if I truly believe if you can maintain your culture in a completely remote setting, have your policies in place, have processes in place, you can do anything.
Yeah. I was on LinkedIn this morning reading about this topic. When I say reading, like somebody posted something and then there was a ton of comments on it about what they're doing, and they talked a lot about productivity. But the other thing that I thought was interesting was the company cited a friend at another company, right? So it's like not the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon thing here, but it's like one separated, removed. He said that this company that had 1,100 people, majority of the people were in the office. I don't know what that percentage was, and he did a study as the people that were in the office advanced in their career more faster than people that were in a remote environment. And his comment was, he's like, I don't know how I feel about that. And I agree. I don't know how I feel about that either, but it kind of makes sense when he started to break it down. When he looked at it and said that the people that were in the office, they're more visible. They're doing things, they're acting, and the managers can pick up on that. Mm-hmm. When you close your Zoom meeting, you can't see. Yeah, maybe you're online, you're on chat, you're on Slack, all these different things, and you can be visible, but what else are you doing for those intangibles? So that's something to think about.
Yeah. Well, and going back to an office as a tool, I like thinking about that challenge in that context, because if you think about how you can grow and advance in your career, you have to take advantage of every single opportunity that's placed in front of you. And some of our Smart Acres, we're in 6 different states. We have all of their, just in our training, we had everyone, when we came back together, bring in an object that represented them, and looking in front of me, all of those objects are on the shelves, so we keep our team really connected. But the point of all this being, no matter what you have to seize the opportunity. So some of our Smart Acres are far away. They can't come into the office all the time. But if someone said, hey, I'm far away, but I would love to coordinate a time to get together with a client and do some in-person training and be in the office, as leaders, we would say, yes, let's do it. So whether you're close to an office or far away from an office, whether you're in Zoom or collaborating in other ways, I think you always have to think about, how can I be the most present? How can I share my thoughts? How can I leverage this opportunity or all the tools that I have in my toolbox?
Yeah. We'll put a picture or an overlay in the YouTube of our shelf here. That it is really cool. By the way, your painting isn't very good.
I'll tell my 3-year-old that you said that.
I'm kidding. Yeah. So what we did was everyone brought in a little item that represented who they are, whether if they're local or not, and left it here. Lisa, hers is a painting that your kids did. It is very cute. I saw that yesterday. I was like, or whenever the other day, and I was like, ah, that's really cute. It's just neat to see what people brought in and tell their story and have that connection. It was a great little way to do that. Awesome. All right. Any other final thoughts on like office, hybrid, remote? Like maybe like one thing that came to my mind was, when I am on calls in an office setting, just in these last couple of weeks, I've had prospects and clients go, "Are you in a real office?" They're like, "Is that a real background?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's real. Like you can touch it." And I was like, "It's pretty fresh." I had a couple people say they were jealous.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jealous of our background or the office or all of it? Because I could see how someone would be jealous of that
No,
background. We have some pretty cool backgrounds.
Yeah, I think it was, I think she just was like, it's been so long, I kind of forget like being in an office setting. And it's not that she was like, I don't even think like I would necessarily want to be there, but having that option, it kind of goes back to what I said.
Yeah.
I think of just having an option where you can go to, because like we've all tried to like work in a coffee shop. I don't do well in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
I can't work in a coffee shop.
Same. I like big monitors, no noise. I mean, we could stay on this topic for a while. I think for us, especially as leaders, one of the other things we always are challenging ourselves on is not just how we can do work, right? Like with time tracking and everything and being productive, but how can we be really efficient and deliver the best results possible? And just having the ability to be in the office and working from home, it challenges my thinking in that a lot of ways. For example, when I work from home, I track my time. So I track way more time when I'm at home than when I'm in the office. Because when I'm in the office, especially when I'm here with you, we're talking, we're thinking, we're just, I don't know, making little sidetrack conversations. But that doesn't equate to how I'm personally measuring my productivity. But those days are often way more productive. For example, one day we were getting ready for an event and we were working on the pop-up display. I would have ping-ponged back and forth with our art director 10, 15 times, right? We probably wouldn't have hopped on a Zoom to go over something like that, but instead there were multiple people in the office, everyone huddled around, everyone interjected their opinion, and we took something from start to finish in maybe 15 minutes just by collaborating and spitballing. So it's just, that to me is a good reminder of sometimes just stop the ping-ponging, stop passing things back and forth, call a timeout, have a conversation. Multiple brains are better than one when you can actually just collaborate on something. And maybe that's a good indicator of calling an in-person meeting or doing something a little bit differently than what you typically do to collaborate on a task.
Well said. Very well said. I think to put a bow around this topic, whether if it's in office, at home, focus on productivity. Don't focus on necessarily how your hours are going to be logged. Don't focus on the hours, but focus on the results. Focus on the output. Focus, are you doing the right type of things to either move your company or your clients forward? So if you're in a better environment to be produce a higher product, that's where you need to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes you just need to change things up.
Yeah, for sure.
Try it. If it doesn't work, then do it differently in the next time. But sometimes just a little shift in routine can make a big difference in how you can be effective.
Yeah. All right, changing topics.
Next topic.
Do you ever have weird dreams?
Oh my God, yes, all the time.
Do you?
Now my kids have weird dreams, which is awesome because they tell me about them.
It's
just hilarious.
I kind of forget about that. My boys don't really, well, first they're teenagers, so they don't want to talk to me, period. So they might text me it, but can I share one of the weird, it was just last night. That's why it's fresh.
I'm fascinated.
Because I can't remember, and this is probably going to, no one, whoever's listening, just bear with me. It would be worth a laugh, I think. Or maybe it's just weird, or I want to get your interpretation. I don't know. I'm just going to talk about this. So I can't remember my dreams. So I fall into that category. And maybe now that I'm thinking of it, it's because of this one show we were watching, they were talking about dreams. I don't know. Here's my dream. There was 2 dreams. The first dream was I had a daughter.
Oh.
Yeah, but she was already grown up. I don't know, I couldn't see her face in it. But I had a daughter, so I had two boys now, and we weren't talking. Kat and I weren't talking anything about having like a daughter recently. So I don't know how this got popped in, but we were running and we were in this ginormous place where there was zombies.
Okay, scary.
Yeah, it was there. People were like decaying and falling over. And again, I haven't watched anything like Walking Dead or anything like zombie related in a while, so I don't know how that happened. There was this guy at a piano, like he was like a zombie, and then he became alive and he started to. I'm like, we gotta find out who's creating all these zombies. We need to find the source and we need to stop it. And all of a sudden, my daughter, she bites somebody and turns him into a zombie. I'm like, it's you. And that was it. That was really weird, right?
That's strange.
All right. And then, so I had a second dream that was totally unrelated.
You had quite the night.
I'll come back to the daughter part, which is really weird. I'll come back to the daughter part. I was on a golf course, like on like about to tee off, and one of our clients was there. I'm not going to say who it was because that would be weird. But this client comes up and I didn't have anything. I was on a golf course, but I didn't have a club. I didn't have a ball. I didn't have like, I don't know if this is an indication of I wasn't prepared. I'm not being prepared for the day. Right?
Interesting.
But he's like, don't worry, Dave. I got you. I got a club. I got a ball. And he hands me this tee, and I'm trying to like figure out this tee situation, and I couldn't figure it out. And then all of a sudden, here comes this ranger and goes, you guys are holding up the works. I'm like, all right, well, we'll come off. He's like, come down here. And we go over this berm, and it's his house. I'm like, oh, you live on the golf course. That's cool. He's like, yeah, I like to come up for the wine. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I steal wine from the golf course.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, you should have enough money for. He's like, no, we'll just hide out here, and then we'll go back up and steal more wine. I'm like, all right, that sounds good.
This sounds like a dream I should be involved in.
It's so weird. And then he's like, all right, let's go back up. I couldn't figure out how to use the tee. It looked like a football tee, like those orange things you like kick off. Like you place the football and you kick off. I think is that still called a tee?
I think so.
Whatever. I don't know what is that called? I don't know. Whatever. I should know what that is. It's not a tee. It's not a football.
Are you sure?
A football
I think
tee?
it is.
A football tee? I don't know. What is that?
We'll Google it.
I don't know. Somebody drop in the comments if you know what that answer is. I couldn't figure this thing out. I was like, turn it upside down. You have it backwards. But it wasn't making sense. I couldn't tee off. And then, here's the weird part. So I'm like, I need to go get some more wine. So we go around this corner, and there's a line of golf carts lined up. We're backing the whole thing up. We're causing a delay. And the ranger's getting pissed. And who is at the drink cart? My daughter. I couldn't see her face again. She was there again. All right, here's the craziest part. That's all I remember. This is the crazy part about dreams. You have little things, and then you read into it, and you're like, what does that mean? I'm driving in this morning, and a song by Shabuzi comes on.
I don't even know who Shabuzi is.
Called Annabelle.
Uh-huh.
And the album, self-titled album, I believe, is Annabelle.
Okay.
Annabelle by Shabuzi. That was going to be our daughter's name. If we had a daughter, that was the name we had.
That's so strange.
So what does that mean?
Maybe you're having another kid.
No. It's not. That ship has sailed. That ship has sailed. But I don't know, like, do you read into dreams?
Every single time.
Oh, you do?
I used to have a dream dictionary by my bedside, but I stopped doing that because, well, I don't have time to analyze my dreams. I barely have time to think anymore. But yeah, all the time. And I dream about clients often because I usually go to bed thinking about how can I solve this problem or what strategy you're going to take here. I really love our clients. In case you're listening, I think about you all the time. So you make your way into my dreams. But then I had a weird dream last week where I was sharing this with a few of our team members when we were in the office, where I was working on something for a client. I was trying to change something or tweak something, and it was digital, so this doesn't make any sense. But I was trying to get there to change it, and I had to go over this obstacle course and this net and everything. I was trying to get from point A to point B to make the edit, and a cougar was chasing me.
Wait, what type of cougar? Like a cougar or like the animal or
An animal.
Okay. Okay. Just because when you say cougar, our audience is already starting to think. They're painting that picture and they're painting your dream. So, okay.
Yeah.
An
So
animal.
of course I woke up analyzing that. The cougar didn't get me, but I also don't know if I ever made it to where I was trying to go either. But it was just one of those things where I was like, oh, am I making this harder than it needs to be? Is there some sort of obstacle that I just read into it way too much, but yeah, dreams are wild. They're wild. And then when they reoccur, when you have the same visuals, that's been happening to Kent a lot lately. He keeps dreaming of waves. I'm like, that has got to mean something. Google it. It's got to mean something.
Yeah, I don't like reading into them too much. I don't. I just choose to think that when our brain shuts off and we go into this sleep mode of you're like paralyzed when you're sleeping. It's just your brain resetting. It's everything is resetting to kind of recharge, and it's firing maybe bits of things that are really deep in your brain, and it's just stitching those together. That's how I choose to want to think about it. Like if I can't read into like if that's gonna happen, like if that means something.
That's good. It's probably a better way to deal with that than what I
But it's also because I don't remember them usually too.
Yeah.
Because I can't. And if I probably just didn't tell you this, I wouldn't remember this tomorrow. It would already have left my brain. Like I know I wouldn't be able to tell you those specifics about the tea.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I always feel like your subconscious, there's something in there.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, it could be. It could be, right?
I feel like there's always things that you can learn about yourself, especially from your subconscious mind. That's how I try to reflect on is what can I learn from this that I maybe not be thinking about on a daily basis that I can take and maybe, like in that situation of that client dream, maybe I just need to calm down a little bit. Maybe I'm overthinking this.
Yeah. If you're listening, if you have a crazy dream and you want to come on the Agency Balance, drop us a line. Yeah, drop us a line. Or if you have any thoughts about dreams, please send that in. Come to agencybalance.com and drop an email to us. We would love to hear more about that. Okay, that's enough about dreams. I think that's enough. Do you want to talk about anything that's like happening in like services or tactics or? We've talked about AI a lot this season because it's happening a lot in our business. I think for me, let's talk about it. I'm just going to get right into it. Let's just talk about it.
Talk about AI?
Yeah, let's just talk about AI a little bit.
I feel like you have to talk about AI. Everyone's talking about AI.
Yeah.
Or what's surprising to me, so I'm doing this small business summit in a couple weeks where we're getting ready to address the topic. Small businesses from the Lehigh Valley are attending, and we have someone facilitating the panel for one of the local universities, and then a vast amount of experience on the panel where the goal is to help small businesses understand how they can use it. And as we were preparing, the thought that we're all going into this with is that most small businesses are going to be pretty against the use of AI, which I was surprised about. But based on who's attended in the past, that's the sentiment of the audience. So we were talking a little bit more about how we could educate, how we could talk about this. And one of the things that I said when we were planning is, I bet many of these small businesses don't even realize that they are already using AI. I mean, it's becoming so integrated into everything that we do. If you're using Google and Gmail, there's AI incorporated with that. If you're using like HubSpot for us, it's being integrated throughout the platform in so many ways. So to be totally against it at this point, I would just question yourself and start to pay attention to how many ways it's already incorporated into our daily lives, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
It's here.
Yeah. Any piece of tech has it already.
Yeah.
Your phone has it. Google is running. I mean, everything is running off of it. I think that for me goes back to, I've heard a few topics probably 6 months ago, even longer, about this exact thing. So if you're falling into this camp right now where you are not embracing AI, you're going to fail. So you're worried, like, is it going to take over my job? You're going to fail. You have to, especially if you're an agency listener right now, if you have not figured out a way to adopt it into your core services, your daily routine, and have a stance on it, you're going to fail. It will take over. You will lose if you're not incorporating it into. It's no different than 35 years ago when email came on the scene. I'm making that, I don't know, don't fact check me, people. I don't know exactly when email came on, but like when they're like, I can't use email. That's wrong.
Right.
It's the same thing. I mean, it's advancing so quickly, and I think that scares people. The other thing, when they say no or they're against it, is because they're not educated on it. So you need to educate yourself on it on a level of the differences of what machine learning is about. How are you using it? So for me, I think of the tools, right? So most of the software that we use and what's already out there, it's already integrating into that. So familiarize yourself about it, and then what is the output? And then two, what are the tools that I can incorporate in my daily routine to free up more time to do something that a human can do?
Right.
That to me is the biggest.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing that we were discussing is there's this, a lot of the against camp thinks, well, AI is just replacing jobs and people are just churning out poor quality work. And yes, I think that with producing content, a lot of things that we do as marketers, there is a place for AI, but just producing content it's not quality. But my stance on it is that AI should allow you to do things more quickly, because with everyone speeding up the time to market and having that velocity, it's just going to require the actual people in your company to think harder, to be more strategic. And that's a shift we've been talking about with SmartAcre for the last year now. Is I've felt like clients are requiring us to be more strategic, to be more thoughtful. And with AI taking over, that's a real need, because you can crank out a campaign like that, but is it going to be smart? Is it going to be thoughtful? Is it going to be strategic? That's the human side of it that you need to carve out that time for, to have that mental energy to think a little harder, to work a little harder, to come up with a better idea, because everyone else can do all the other stuff quickly.
Yeah.
And that's why you should hire SmartAcre, because we can do that really well.
Yeah. So our stance is, right, it's not the final product. We are using it. We're not just assuming that final product or anything that's produced is even remotely close. Like we're still coming up with the ideas. We're still coming up with the concepts. We're facilitating that through the tools that we're using, and then some steps of the way, things can get accelerated. And why wouldn't you want us to do that? Because we're going to be able to do some things more efficient for you, that are going to allow us to do the more strategic things better, or give you more strategy towards things. Yeah, there's just so much. Like on the creative side, I know we've used we had a here's a case study example, and maybe you can find maybe we can link this up, this case study example, where I was blown away with this and I didn't even know we were doing this. So we had a small client that needed something really quickly with not a lot of budget. You know, the good, fast, quick, and cheap thing. But there obviously, we wanted to make sure that we were able to still support them, and so we came up with all the creative, the messaging, probably the tone, the script, everything. But we just had the voiceover done by an AI. It sounded really good. It sounded really good, and so because of that, we were able to do it more efficient, reduce the cost, get it done quicker. We didn't have to go back and forth, find talent. Oh, is it, this type of voice, this type of voice? So that's one example that we used it recently, and the client was totally on board with that.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
So that was cool.
I think it's going to change things like testing too, right? We do a lot of A/B testing in platform, but now there's an opportunity to test things before even launching it. I still think that there's a ton of value in A/B testing, but just getting AI's perspective on this is our target persona. These are some of their challenges. These are their pain points. Here's the ad. How do you interpret it? What's the key takeaway? That's been really impactful for how we're delivering even creative, just to make sure that what we're showcasing, the right message is the one that's most easily picked up from that. So there's a lot of value in just using it in so many different ways, so many use cases. They're just going to keep growing and growing and growing.
Like on the sales side, when we're, sales law, for example, that's integrated into the Rhythm dashboard. So it tells you what should be your next sequence or your cadence. What is your next step if this has happened, right? So if this action occurred in the sales process, let's say you're in a negotiation phase and there is a pushback. Because that has happened over and over and over again, AI is saying, hey, this is your next best move. Use this play. I think that's really important for companies that are looking to get more out of BDRs, or if you're in the closing, the example I gave is in the closing phase is probably, more of like a VP of sales or somebody higher up that is trying to close a deal. If you're doing that at scale, you may need some influence there. I think at the end of the day, we're still humans. We're still going to make our own judgment call. We're going to look at that and go, yeah, maybe I won't do that. Like, I know I'm better off trying to schedule a meeting and talking through versus just trying to send another email. I think the example that I've seen happen is I'm seeing a lot. Go back on I've talked about email. I get way too many emails, but email and messaging. I've seen this now in messaging where, like, I'm talking like messenger type conversations, not like LinkedIn Navigator messaging and stuff like that. It's purely just they're just following whatever AI is doing. They're being so lazy about it. Mm-hmm. I'm so turned off by that. I could tell, like, you did not look at the exact action or input that I gave you. Like, I told you, like, your price was twice as high, and you're just letting the system funnel you through. Yeah. That's so bad.
Oh, it drives me insane. I had that happen to me this week too. I responded to something and said, I can't meet this week. Okay, how about this Tuesday? Like, no, you're not listening to anything that I'm saying. Just stop.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, so AI, it's continuing to advance. All of our technology partners are investing more and more into it. And I think it's good. I do think right now, I think it's good. There, in my back of my head, I still worry about governance and security, and I worry about it going the bad way. Mm-hmm. Like, what are the repercussions? I always worry about those type of things. That's just where I am in my career. I think I risk mitigate. I told you that, like, every day is about risk mitigation. Right. So, like, what are the risks of certain things? So I think there's still a lot that has to be done on that front. But there's a lot of cool things that you could do to help you get a better output and a better product quicker, faster, to free up the things. The great thing also is, like, I've seen companies use it to free up to do a better job with customer service. So on the customer service side, we talk about, well, if you're doing those type of tasks, or if a standard pushback or something comes in, like a return or something, use AI to help process that and then free up the time for customer service to connect more with your current customer base, have conversations, have a one-on-one relationship. One-on-one connection was that big theme during the pandemic, was like, you have to figure a way to connect with people. And I don't think that has gone away. Connecting with people, I think, is really important, in having that conversation. People just want it differently. Mm-hmm. They just want to consume that differently. So, I don't know. That's it for now. I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts before we move off that topic?
I mean, I could talk about AI for a while, but for me, it's just, I agree with the governance. It's just like social media. I mean, that was a big part of my job when I was working with the Air Force Medical Service, of just making sure people don't do the wrong things that can compromise security or create risk. But sometimes you just have to set your team up safely and move forward, because if you're too afraid to do it, you're not going to learn anyway. You're not going to learn from it. So I encourage everyone to have Chat GPT open, think about how can I work a little bit faster today, and just explore use cases that feel good and comfortable for you. And in our case, we're not sharing client data or anything like that, but there are so many things you can do throughout your day that might help you move faster.
Great segue. Great segue. This is our closing segment on, I want to talk about three things that energize you. So just like we just talked about AI, you should, be freed up to do more things. Mm-hmm. So I want to talk through 3 things that energize you. Do you want to go first, or should I go first? Or you want to go back and forth?
Let's go back and forth.
Okay. Do you want
I've been thinking about this, but it was a little hard for me. I'm not going to lie.
Me too. After I wrote it down, I was like, man, I wrote something down harder. Something really hard to talk through. All right, I'll go first, and then I'll kick it back to you. And it just so happened to work out this way. Well, it started to work out this way, and then I stretched it. My 3 things that energize me all begin with P.
Oh.
3 Ps. So hopefully you can remember this. My first is positivity.
Love that.
Things that energize me are positivity. So what I mean by that, I think when I'm around negativity, and negativity can be from a person, people, or it could be the action that is occurring. Something happened. When there's negativity, I fall into the trap of I get on that level.
Yeah.
I get onto that person's level, or when something bad happens, I get into that mood. So that happened to me yesterday, where something bad happened, and I was thankful that because I think I was predicting that it was going to happen. I got mad, and I started to feel like I was going on that level of the action that occurred by someone. I closed my laptop. I'm going for a drive. I got in the car and I just left so that I could do something completely different for 35 minutes to turn my brain off so that I could reset and I wouldn't stay on tilt, because I can get on tilt. I can get on tilt. Everybody knows me personally. I can get on tilt. We all have that to an extent. So I needed to reset. So I think for me, when I'm around positivity, I feed off of that energy, and tying it back to being in person. If you have an opportunity to connect with your coworkers, your partners, your clients, and be in person as much as you can, I am an extrovert, so that I fall into that. So I feed off of people's positivity. If I'm in a room of people and I can pick up on those cues, I'm getting like pumped up. So that's my first one.
Nice. I'll share this one since you talked about driving. For me, it's not driving, but it's having some quiet space. And I don't know if this is a result of having 2 small kids right now and just not feeling like I often have the time to just let my mind wander a little bit. But I find that it's important for the workday, right, to step away and just have some time where I'm not reading email or I'm not actively in a conversation, but just having that free-form thought where I can actually hear my internal monologue and let my brain think for a little bit. I love that, and that's actually one of the reasons why I love having an office space again, because I can get in the car, commute to and from work, and it doesn't feel like a waste of time at all because it's some quiet time where I can let my brain just think, and it's so refreshing.
Yeah, I do. I love it. I don't have that as one of mine, but I love quiet. Like for me, a quiet dinner is awesome. I love a quiet dinner. The thing that I hate is a loud dinner when there's a lot going on.
Don't come over to our house.
Yeah, that's where you are in the face. Yeah. All right. Second P for me is progress.
Okay, this is funny because wait till you hear my second one.
Okay, so progress. I've always said that incremental milestones are better than like ginormous huge ones. I pretty much can relate this to anything. Like years and years ago, when we were talking about how do we scale the business, how do we grow the business, how do we, you always think about huge, ginormous things like finance and sales and people and infrastructure and all these big, how the heck are you going to achieve that? And when I was a project manager and having that in my blood about planning things, I like to be methodical about these are the steps that have to occur. And when I can see, even like when we were doing the office, like I had to create a to-do list for myself of like, these are all the things and plan it all out. And when I started to achieve like that section was complete, I said, we're making progress here. And I get excited about that. When we win something, it's a small win, it's contributing to something that's larger and you're showing that progress. And that's funny, as I'm like looking out the window, for those, you can't see this, I'll also put another picture of this. We're across from an amusement park and they are building this ginormous roller coaster, which I will absolutely not ride. But the progress they made from the time that we moved in here to it's done. They were like testing that last week.
That's awesome. I was surprised seeing that this morning, actually. I
didn't know you could build a roller coaster that big and that quick, but I guess it's just a bunch of Legos that's built somewhere else and they're just assembling it together. But progress, I think, is really, like, I've always talked about progress over perfection. For me, it's just, when I see that, it gives it something inside, the endorphins or whatever kick in, and you're just like, yeah, let's go.
Yep. That's actually very much in line with my second one. And it's launching something or having it move from the planning phase, but actually getting it done and to completion. When I have something like that in my day or even in my week, I feel so energized. And I think there are brains that work differently in this regard too. I think sometimes people like when they can just chip away at something and move it a little bit further. Like my husband, he loves to put away 75% of his laundry, where if I'm doing that on the weekend, I got to get it all done. It's all got to get put away. I want it to be 100% done and off my list. I love you, Kent. But that's true in my work days too. I love when even if it's just the smallest task, like I've been thinking about sending this email for the last 2 weeks. It's flagged in my inbox. I just got to get it done. If I can get something done and off my list, it just reminds me that, okay, that's a milestone. It's a box I can check. But it feels especially good when it's something going live, something launching that I can look at and see how it's performing, see how people are engaging with it, learn from it, take that and then plan what the next thing is, because I feel like, okay, not only did I just do something, but it made an impact, and now I can watch and learn and think about what the next move is. Or think if my next move, the one that I thought was the right one, is truly the right one.
I can relate to the 75% laundry thing. I know why. That's a guy thing. Because we may wear some of those other things.
That's exactly what he says. And
some of the other things, like, we may not want to put away because they're, like, harder to put away. Like, the way. Okay. All right. So this was the third one, and I labeled it a P, but maybe it's not the best label for it. So what I wrote down first was something to look forward to. Energizes
That's a really
me.
Good one.
Something to look forward to. So what I related that to was plan. Mm-hmm. So planning. I'm definitely a planner. I'm a P. I'm a planner. So something to look forward to, whether if it's like time off coming up, like an event with your kids. It could be an item. Like for me, I like to get things like in the mail. I'm like one of those guys. Mm-hmm. Like what came from Amazon today? It was nothing. But I like to, when I know that there's something happening or will happen and that I can look forward to it. I don't know. Like, I think our brains are wired in a certain way that, like, it's something on the horizon. It's something that you can get excited about and get happy about, because hopefully it's going to bring you joy, whatever that is. Maybe there's a reverse effect that there's something on the horizon that you don't want to do. Maybe it's having the other. So I get energy from that. I think when I don't have something to look forward to. And generally it's probably like for me, it's like a trip or something, something that's coming up. I'm like, ooh, I'm excited. If I don't have anything on the books, like I get a little anxious. Like I get a little anxious. So, for me, putting a bow on these, like positivity, progress, and plan. And the reason, and I'll kick it back to you in a second. The reason I wanted to share these was, I think it's really important that if you're listening right now, write 3 things down that energize you. Think about that. 3 things that energize you, and look back at these and try to do them, because there should be an output there, like to building that energy. And if you don't have something that is in your plans, do it. Maybe you'll feel better. What's your final thing?
My final one's a little bit harder to articulate, but it's prioritizing what I need when I need it. So some days I like to have my latte, sit at my laptop, and just start getting work done, because mentally that's where I'm at. I'm just ready to go. I want to focus on that. Some days I have to start my day with a very aggressive run on the treadmill, because I just have to let out some steam, or get in a good headspace to start my day with clarity. And then last week, a good example of this is coming off of training, and a few pretty busy days threw me out of my usual routine. I knew on Friday I was not going to be productive, because I felt like I needed to spend time with my kids. I needed to be there with them. I needed their energy to bring back my energy. So I could have sat at my desk and tried to get work done, but why? I wouldn't have been productive. I wouldn't have been effective. But I had a great afternoon doing something that filled up my cup. So I think self-care is really important. Treating yourself. I read this somewhere. I think it was Jonathan Baker.
Okay, yeah, we can link up Jonathan Baker.
He wrote something about, are you a professional or are you an amateur? And I'm a professional marketer, so I need to treat my mind, my body, everything like I'm a professional, and take good care of myself. And sometimes that's paying attention to what you need when you need it, so you can perform at your best.
That's a couple other P's there. Professional, yeah, as well. Prioritization. There's a lot of P's that we said in this episode. So, thanks for listening. We had a great time this morning.
This was fun. I'm glad we got our mics working.
Yeah. All right. Stay tuned. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Subscribe to the podcast at agencybalance.com, Apple, YouTube, or Spotify.